Have you ever opened your fridge and spotted a jar you've never seen? You pick it up and it's marked Best by July. And you can't help thinking, July? July of what year? And why do you look so comfortable next to my pickles? That is how I felt when reading about Jesus' arrest. So we've all heard the story. Jesus takes Peter, James, and John with him to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. Jesus goes off by himself, and Peter, James, and John all take a nap. Now, this is a pretty turbulent time in Jesus' life. There are a lot of officials who don't like him, and things are heating up in the area. But here are Peter, James, and John, asleep like interns who just realized their boss left early. The only problem is the boss kept coming back and catching them. Finally, he tells them to get up and go with him, so they do. Now here's where it gets interesting. Pretty quickly into this encounter, Peter draws a sword and cuts off the ear of Malchus, the guard. I'm going to repeat that. Peter, the fisherman, draws a sword and cuts off the ear of Malchus, the guard. Now, I don't know about you, but I ain't never seen no Jesus paintings where the disciples were carrying around swords. What was Peter, a fisherman, doing with a sword? Turns out, Jesus told the disciples to go buy them. At the Last Supper, he said, hey guys, you remember when I told you not to bother about taking anything with you? No purse, no bag, no sandals? Well, if you happen to have a purse and a bag, take those. And if you've got a cloak, go sell it and buy a sword. Things are about to get spicy. So maybe all that napping was just first century crisis prep. Like, if we're gonna be fugitives by sunrise, I'm gonna need a solid 90 minutes. And this is the moment where my metaphysical brain just cracks wide open. I can't help asking, not just what happened, but what does this show us? What does it mean when Peter pulls out a sword and Jesus says, put that thing away, after he told the guy to go buy it? I don't think this story is about Peter being horrible with the sword or Jesus being good with ear reattachment. This is a picture of what happens when fear hijacks faith, when we try to protect truth with panic instead of peace. So let's break it down. In unity metaphysics, Peter represents faith, and not just any faith. We're talking about the bold, passionate, impulsive faith, the kind of faith that jumps out of a boat and blurts out answers before the question's even done, but also the kind of faith that, well, panics under pressure. Now, Peter's been with Jesus for a while. He's seen the healings, heard all the sermons, watched water turned into wine, and probably helped drink a good bit of it. He had front row seats to the divine. And yet, the minute things start to go sideways, he doesn't pray, he doesn't pause, he pulls out a weapon like it's go time. Because that's what fear does. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are. Fear will make you forget every miracle you ever witnessed. And suddenly your faith is out there flailing around with a sword it barely knows how to use. So Peter swings the sword, and who gets hit? It's not one of the people coming in with violence. It's not one of the guys barking orders. No, it's poor Malchus. The guy just standing there, minding his own business, probably thinking, why am I always on the night shift? Now, I had to pause here because I thought, wait, who is Malchus? I mean, why is his name included when half the Bible call people a certain man? Turns out his name means king or kingdom, which is interesting because suddenly this isn't just a guard with a bad night. It's a symbol. He represents worldly authority, the outer systems of power, the human institutions that try to contain or control truth. But even more than that, in this story, Malchus represents the world's ability to hear truth. So what gets injured when faith acts out in fear? The ear, the very thing that symbolizes spiritual receptivity. When faith forgets who it is and tries to protect truth through force, it damages the world's ability to hear it. Peter meant to defend Jesus, but in his panic, he wounded somebody's capacity to receive him. And what does Jesus do? Oh, he doesn't scold. He doesn't say, Peter, you had one job. He simply says, put your sword away. Then he reaches out and he heals the ear, quietly, instantly, without fanfare. Because that's what divine love does. It doesn't waste time arguing with fear. It doesn't clap back. It doesn't escalate. It goes straight to the injury and heals the hearing. Even in the moment that looks like pure chaos and disaster, Christ is still working to restore awareness. Where fear cuts off understanding, love puts it back. Where panic damages perception, Spirit repairs it, so truth can still be heard. Now, I'd love to say this was just Peter's problem, that he's the one with the panic reflex, that he's the one swinging wildly and messing everything up. But let's be real. We have all been Peter. We've all had moments where our faith got scared and tried to fix things, where we lashed out in conversation, not because we were mean, but because we were trying to protect something sacred. We've all said things in the name of truth that cut someone off from hearing it. We've all wounded ears. Sometimes it's a snappy email. Sometimes it's spiritual superiority. Sometimes it's good old-fashioned negative beliefs dressed up as a Facebook post. And let me tell you, when faith gets scared, it doesn't just make a mess. It makes us feel righteous while we're making it. But Jesus doesn't double down on that energy. He doesn't say, well, Peter was just defending the gospel. He doesn't say, you tell him, sword boy. No, he heals the very thing Peter damaged. And he does it while the system is still arresting him. Because the Christ presence doesn't defend itself with force. It restores the space where truth can still be heard. So here's the question. Whose ears have we been cutting off? Not literally, hopefully. But how many times have we let fear swing on our behalf and someone else walked away unable to hear love? It's easy to think we're being bold, that we're standing up for what is right, that we're just telling the truth. But if the outcome is disconnection, if someone leaves the conversation more wounded than awakened, then maybe our sword was louder than our spirit. And here's the part we don't always talk about. Sometimes we're not swinging at anybody else. Sometimes we're just flailing in fear and end up slicing off our own ear. We stop listening to guidance. We tune out the still, small voice. We panic so deeply trying to protect what we believe that we lose the ability to hear what we need. We defend God while disconnecting from God at the same time. And if you've ever been there, spiritually deaf in your own panic spiral, then you know fear doesn't just damage the messages for others. It distorts it inside of us. It cuts us off from peace, from intuition, from clarity, from the very awareness we need to stay grounded in the first place. But here's the good news. You are never beyond the reach of the Christ within you. Even when fear's been loud, even when clarity got cut off, even when you've been swinging wildly in the dark. There is something in you that knows how to hear. There is a love in you that never stopped speaking. There is a presence in you, steady, unshakable, eternal, always ready to restore you to yourself. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove you're spiritual enough. You don't even have to get it right. You just have to get still. Because the moment you stop swinging and start listening, the moment you lay down the panic and lean into the stillness, you'll find that what you thought was broken was already being healed from the inside out. So, the next time you're feeling panicked, listen. Really listen. Not with your fear, not with your defenses, with your heart, with your wisdom, with your inner ear open wide. When fear tries to rise up and make noise, let it know, not today. I'm listening to something deeper. And if you find yourself mid-flail, don't panic. Just pause. Touch the place that forgot how to hear, and let love remind you, because you, yes, you, are the living, breathing presence of spiritual clarity. You are tuned into truth. You are a walking reset button for divine awareness. You are an ear healer, a peacemaker, a sword dropper, and most of all, you are absolutely amazing, ridiculously, wildly, breathtakingly amazing. And the world is better because you are in it. Now go be that. Maybe, just maybe, leave the sword at home.